Welcome to the Take a Bite lunchtime presented by Arc of Westchester. Today, the September the 20th. And Take a Bite lunchtimes are webinars that are featuring some interesting software or hardware that we ask you to think about, consider. We're not giving an endorsement. We're just saying, look at this thing. This is pretty interesting. Before we start, I just want to mention a couple of things. One, I always harp on this, but it's an important thing. The Coleman Institute out in Colorado, they have a petition that they ask everybody to sign, which is basically that people with cognitive disabilities should have the right to have access to technology to make it affordable. It's something that is essential to live in the modern world. So please go to this address, the colemaninstitute.org/declaration, and sign on behalf of yourself or your organization. We're trying to get thousands of signatures so that some people in the federal government might be persuaded that this is something really important for them to focus upon. Also, if you have a moment, visit our website, arcwestchester.org/technology. All the webinars that we're doing for Take a Bite lunchtime are archived there. This one will be available in a day or two. And we're going to be having our third annual, unbelievable, but our third annual tech conference is going to be coming up on Tuesday, March 27th, 2018. And it will be at Mercy College, and we expect a large crowd there. We hope that some of you may be able to attend with us. With that, we're going to get started. My friend Laurel from Schenectady Arc is here, and she's going to talk about some wonderful apps that the agency has created.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for tuning into this, and thank you, Jordan, for inviting me. I'm Laurel Skultety. I am the Senior Speech Language Pathologist at Schenectady Arc Ridge Health Services, and I am really excited to share these apps with you today, Goal Plan Do and My Life Plan. And so both of these apps are available currently at the App Store. You have to search them, My Life Plan, no spaces, as well as Goal Plan Do, no spaces, but you can also search Schenectady Arc, and these apps, as well as some other apps that we've developed, will show up in the App Store. So take a look at those when you have a chance. So Goal Plan Do Review, which is actually the full name for this app, but it wouldn't all fit on in the App Store name. So this is an app that we developed based on long-term projects and achieving goals. So originally it was not actually developed to work on achieving goals. It was more just developed by the late Dr. Mark Ilvasacker, who was a professor at the College of St. Rose and an author and just a brilliant man. And he really believed in long-term projects. And as a graduate of St. Rose, I too embraced this concept. And so a lot of what we have done since I've been here is working on projects. Now we're sort of using that approach to achieve goals, whether it's a valued outcome or any kind of life goal. So I actually took this quote right from Jordan, who sent this in an email to me. This approach to achieving a goal or a project gives an individual a focus and direction. Little steps make life seem more manageable, and that's right from you, Jordan. So more, yeah, I liked when you sent that to me in the email, so I added it in. More information about project approach learning is available at the Project LearnNet website. It is a wonderful resource for teachers, clinicians, parents, educators. It's managed by the Brain Injury Association of New York State, and it really has some really wonderful things that I think people who are listening might benefit from checking that out. So the focus from what I took off that website, the LearnNet website, was the executive function and self-regulation first piece of it. And what this is, we take for granted planning something, executing a project, even if it's something as simple as making a bed, to going to the doctor, or maybe planning a birthday party for somebody. Most of us know what goes into that. We have an internal script of what to expect, right? We know what to do. We know how to go. We know driving there. So all those things that we take for granted, many individuals that we support don't have those scripts. And so we use this project approach or this goal achievement method to help them learn, how do you get to that point of a project or a plan or a goal. So they don't have these written scripts, whether they didn't learn them, they weren't taught, or they weren't taught effectively for the person to learn. So this quickly just goes over something from the website about the whole goal, obstacle, plan, prediction, do, review. Those are all the steps for this approach. That's pretty complicated, so we simplify those into goal, plan, do, review, and the obstacle and the prediction, we kind of absorb those steps to this process within the goal, plan, do, and review. So you could read that over if you'd like to learn more about that approach. So since this is something we've always done here, this is an example of how we used to do it on paper. And so there's on the bottom there, that's some pictures of a book that we used to create. You know, Life Prep 2 is having a pasta party, and goal was to have a pasta party. Then we set a plan, then we did it, then we reviewed how we did. All on paper. And so we skipped the predict part. So that one, we decided to go, just absorb. We decided it's time to put technology to use for this approach. So in 2002, our department, we all were given iPads. iPads are so motivating and fun for the individuals. Heather, Hillary, and I worked to develop this app, and now we have more apps. Our MSCs and ResHab specialists also have iPads, and they're using this app. We didn't know how to do this on our own, so we had an app developer. Her name was Sue Kohler. Sue Kohler was now she's retired, chemistry teacher at Union College. She did a small project with us, and she loved it. She loved working with us. She loved working with our population. She retired and said, I want to do more apps with Schenectady ARC. So just for the fun of it. So it's kind of hard to get together with her in her quote unquote retired life. She's very, very busy. and I also have limited availability. So developing this app was a little bit of a process, but here we go. This is what it looks like. When you open the app, you'll get that first screen there on your left. See where it says goal, plan, do, review. At that point, you can choose if you want to create a new project. Now, creating a new project could be a project, an event, or it could be, how do I get to my goal? I have this valued outcome of I want a job, I want my GED, I want to live independently. Whatever the valued outcome is, make that's your project. That's the goal. So then you're going to put in the project name there in the middle picture, project name. This one happens to be get my GED. Person then develops a goal. What is my goal? That is entered in there. I want to pass the exam so I can get my GED. And as you see, there's a picture there, and I'll show you in just a few minutes of how to enter that in. Okay. The next thing you could do is use an existing project, because of course none of these goals are achieved overnight. It's not done in one setting. This is over time. So you may have a few valued outcomes or a few goals or events that are being worked on, projects that are being worked on. So you can choose an existing project. So there on your screen, you'll see on the left some example of projects or goals that are being worked on. We just recently had a barbecue party. That was a whole lot of fun. That one has a picture with it. The one underneath, the fun with friends, the group that was planning that didn't need the pictures. So we skipped the visual supports for that project. I have somebody else I'm working on who loves Halloween, so he's planning a Halloween party. And then you see the GED one that was on your previous screen. So there in the middle, you have a goal, or the picture of the milkshake. We had a milkshake day. And then over on the other side, you can see that they have put a picture with the goal with that. Okay, some features I want you to know about when you're setting the plan. So the next screen, when you touch plan, the one on the left comes up. You touch the add button right there, and that comes to the gray background there. When you're entering in a step name, please remember that the individuals we support, they have that built-in support of using the microphone. If it's somebody who doesn't spell that well, or that's a challenge for them, make this doable. So use that built-in microphone for the speech to text. Word prediction, use that feature. It's built in. Our clients can be successful by using word prediction, by just knowing the first letter of the word they're trying to spell. So that's a great feature to use, the word prediction, built right into the iPad. So I encourage those to use those. Other features, once you have the name of the project and some details entered in, now I want to say that the plan that is set, it can be sequential, like step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. Some people that I work with, that's how they like it. Others just name the step, like this one was pick a day. That could have been called when, it could have been called schedule, whatever. The individuals that we were planning this chose pick a day. It has the ability to link to the calendar in the iPad. This is optional. You don't have to enter in a due date, but it really is a nice reminder to the person. On this date, you plan to do this. This is really helpful for the individuals in our college success program. If they are working on a project or an assignment for their class and they have to turn something in, they set this reminder to not only work on it, but to turn it in. And I don't know if you know anybody who's worked on an assignment, did it, and then forgot to turn it in. So set this reminder to turn in the assignment. Only thing is, remember to set an alert. The default on the iPads is always none, which boggles my mind. I think that it shouldn't be none, but make sure you change the alert to a time frame that will work. All right, adding in a photo. Right there, you can use it, links to the camera built into the iPad. You can take an in-the-moment photo to support that part of the plan, or you can use pictures in the picture library in the moments or the camera roll of the iPad. I love Google Images. Our clients love Google Images. We pull up Google Images, and I have the client find a picture that is meaningful to you, that will help you know what this step is all about. And as you can see there, the clients chose June 2017. That was what they chose. Oh, pick a day. They looked at that and said, we have to look at the calendar. So that's the one they selected. So the next part is, once you've added in all of the steps by pushing that plus button, they can be sorted at this point. The steps can be put in order or not. It's up to the person. If you choose to sort them, you just touch that sort button, and you'll see in the middle there, those 3 little lines on the right-hand side come up of each step. At that point, you can touch those little lines. You know how to do this, and it will move things around to flipping things. You want them to be in order. Also, what comes up is if you want to delete things. Let's say, for example, transportation. Well, I have transportation now. I figured that all out, or it's not an issue. The person can then delete that step. Don't fill your mind with things that are not necessary. So if that's a step I no longer need, I can get rid of that. Okay, now the do part. So as each step is completed, the person will touch it and it turns green. And that means done. That's a go. It's ready, it's done. I don't have to do anything more with that part of the app. So you can see on the right-hand side, that was our milkshake day, fun day. Everything was completed, so because it's all green. So remember this executive function, self-regulation. What will help us get better in the future and make this script is that if we have the ability to review what we did. That's how we learn, not only by doing it, but reviewing it. What worked? What didn't work? What should I change for the future projects or assignments or goals that I have? Remember when I skipped the prediction and the prediction and obstacle steps? This is where you can really talk about those predictions and obstacles to focus on that. So what were the good points? Again, this happened to be milkshake day. So the good points were we had 4 choices. 4 choices, that's appealing to a lot of people. Of course, the milkshakes were delicious. They were simple. It was a very simple activity, but it was a lot of fun. We offered them for free, and we had enough ingredients. Some of the obstacles that the group identified as a struggle was we only had 2 blenders. That was kind of hard because people had to wait for their turn. It was okay. It was a test of patience, but it would have been more efficient if we had 4 blenders for each of the flavors. And a big problem was we ran out of cups. So now you think about next time. How do I fix this problem for next time? Well, of course, we need more cups, and maybe think about having a blender for each of the flavors. Again, I'm taking this from you, Jordan. I liked what you said in an email to me. I know. The individuals review their progress, identify what worked and didn't work in the process, and they gain confidence on their abilities to navigate this complex world. When we break things down into these small steps, it doesn't seem so overwhelming. It just seems, I can do this. This is one step at a time. And the clients really have benefited from being able to see the steps, learn the steps. So many of my clients have now done this process for so long that they'll say to me, they'll come up and say, let's plan a party. And I say, okay. And they'll say to me, what's our goal? And I love that. It's now becoming their script. And somebody else will say, right, what's our plan? Let's set the plan. That's the whole point. Now they know that you can't just, something doesn't, wave a magic wand and it happens. You have to plan it to execute each step one by one. And that's really exciting for me. So once you have reviewed it, now remember I used to do this in book format, which was fun in itself, but now we have technology. If you look at the bottom of your screen on the left there, it says prepare a PDF report. If you touch that, that middle screen comes up. At this point, you have the choice to either email this whole process, everything, all the steps, the good points, the bad points, the review, all the steps can be either printed or emailed. I could email this to myself and then just save this in a folder for later review. Or it could be saved for another ISP meeting, and the person wants to share this at their ISP meeting. Look what I did. The person achieved the plan or the goal of getting their GED. They can say, look, this is how I got there. This was my plan, and I did it. It's a real sense of ownership and pride. So there's an example on the left or the right-hand side of what that report looks like. Hope you have a magnifying glass to see that tiny little screen.
A little small, a little small.
It is a little small, but you get the idea that it prints it out of what it looks like. So I just love this app that we've used. It's a whopping 99 cents.
That's outrageous. So, that's outrageous.
And the thing is, Jordan, I was at the tech conference at Mercy College, which I do recommend to anybody who's listening. If you haven't been, it's really great. I walked away with some really great information. But it was at that conference that, Jordan, you came up to me and said, I wish we had an app that would help people achieve their goals, their valued outcomes. And I said, we do. Mm-hmm. We do. It's this one.
Right.
The original intent was more for a project, but this very well can be the step somebody can plan out to achieve their life goals.
Right.
It can be, I'm used at an ISP meeting, a goal or valued outcome is identified, and how are you going to get there? I don't think we think about that.
And I think that's an important a very, very important point. And with the folks that we serve, uh, they are the most patient people in the world lots of times. And, if you want a job, you should be able to remind yourself what your goal is. I want a job, and you should stay on top of things because if you don't, who will? So that if you could follow up with your job developer and say, hey, how's that search going? Just to be able
Right.
to expect things. If I had a leak in my kitchen and I called up the plumber and he says, well, I'll get back to you in 6 to 9 months, I probably wouldn't use that plumber. And the same thing goes for any service that we give to the people that we support. They should expect results. And the goal plan do is a great way for people to keep on top of what they want out of life. And one other thing, Laurel, that you mentioned before, when the guys integrate this into their own thinking. That is what is so superb because none of what we're doing is to say that you should always have your iPad or your phone with you and use that as your prosthetic. Eventually, we hope that all this gets internalized into a person, and when encounter a problem, they'll say, oh, well, first I have to figure out what my goal is, how I'm going to accomplish it, what do I have to do to accomplish it, and how successful I am. And you move from an app to totally a real life existence.
That's right. That's right. They internalize that script of how to get that. This just puts words and pictures to it to get them there. So I liked you just said something about this app is in fact available for iPhones, not just iPads. So this can be, if somebody has an iPhone, on the go with them. They can take it home and say, what's the next step, without having to have an iPad. So thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so that's the first app that I worked on with Sue Kohler. We are super proud of that app. We use it regularly. I hope that some of you find this valuable to achieving a goal. Check out the Project LearnNet website if you'd like to learn more about project approach learning, and use this app if you find it worthwhile. All right, the second one, the My Life Plan app, this one currently is only available for iPad. And it's kind of there's a lot on the screen, so it's easier to use on an iPad. And there's a little information about it. There's the background before on this is that I used to sit with my clients and sit down and prepare. Let's talk about your meeting. It's coming up. I would actually have them write almost a script that they would follow along and say at their meeting. Person-centered planning is, more about the person. Whose meeting is it? It's the individual's meeting, not the service coordinators, not the whoever. It's the person's meeting. They should lead it. So we decided, how can we get the person more involved in the meetings? So we came up with this. It's a combination of taking what we call My Life at a Glance, as well as the PALM interviews from CQL, and we condensed it into this app. And the time frame to complete this whole thing is anywhere from 20 minutes. I've had somebody go through this app to plan for whatever meeting is coming up, person-centered planning, ISP meeting, and I've had people who have taken well over an hour. People who have done it a couple of times are able to do it a little faster. Those who are doing it for the first time, it takes them a little bit longer. Once I teach the app and show an individual how to use it, by about the third or fourth screen, I'm happy to say they are fairly independent with it. That is the goal. Some built-in things that, features that I want everybody to be aware of. Again, I can't say this enough, the speech to text, that use that feature. This one also has voice recording. So it's not speech to text, but it will actually be the person's voice, the individual's voice saying what they want to say. And that is people really like that. Word prediction is still available. It really helps people be successful by using that word prediction. it accesses the camera. So if the individual would like to take in the moment photos, I've had people take my picture and they're talking about speech services. They say, Laurel, can I take your picture and show them who you are? Sure. So they'll access the camera, and also as well as the photo library. I had a gentleman who made a bench out of wood. He built this bench, he stained it, and what he did was he had it on his iPhone and he just airdropped it to the iPad, and then he showed everybody at his meeting, look at the bench I made. I want to do more with woodworking. So the app currently goes through 40 different statements, and I'll tell you a little bit about what those statements are in a moment. But the person can then, those statements came, like I said, from the Palm interview, My Life at a Glance, and we condensed them to 40. They are read to the person if they want to have the statements read to the person. So I'll play this video and then we'll talk about it in just a second. Let's see. Hopefully you can hear it.
I belong to a club or a group.
That is how this works. The voice you heard, that was one of our self-advocates. There, like I said, 40 statements, and 4 individuals each read 10 statements. When the user goes to use this app, the choice is made to the user to have the statements read to him or her or not. If somebody is able to read and wants to read the statements on their own, then they can do that. So some individuals struggle with reading, and so those statements can be said to them for the person. There is an admin mode to this app. Now you should, on the how-to guide, I hope that this works. So yay! This guide is available to use to follow along with how to use the app. So this is how it kind of goes. If somebody's meeting is coming up, what I do is I say, hey, your meeting is coming up. Maybe you could plan for what you want to say at your meeting. Think about the different topics you want to talk about. This app is only one possible tool that a person could use to plan for their meeting. You all know that they might have some kind of written agenda, or they might do something else to plan for their meeting. So this is just one tool they could use, and a lot of people like it because it's using an iPad. So once I have that conversation with the person and ask them if they'd like to use the app, I have the person set up an account. So you'll see right there, it says username and password. So the individual will set up their own username and password. And it'll ask if you're a new user or not, yes or no. Okay, once that is set up, then we set up a time to meet. Let's meet next Friday, and we'll go through I'll show you how to use the app. In the meantime, what I do is I go into the admin mode, as you can see right there on the screen. The username is admin, the password is admin. That's so secure, I know. And I go through all of the 40 statements that are the default statements on the app. So you'll see right there, it says modify questions for John D. So for example, if one of the statements is, I like my job. If John doesn't have a job, that is not an appropriate question for John to even answer. So I will delete that question. And I will delete any other questions that just they don't pertain to John's life. But I might also add in a statement that's not covered. I've added statements in about pets. I've had somebody who really wanted to talk about their pet or their desire to have a pet, actually. So I added that in. So that is all ready. All those statements are ready the day of our meeting. So the person can go ahead and log in using the username and password that they established before. speak the questions or not, depending on the person, and then go through all of the statements. So you saw that little video clip, and the person then decides, it starts off in the middle, then decides never. I say, that means no. No, I never get to go out into the community. Or it can go to the other end. Always, yes, I go out into the community a lot. And all 40 statements are gone through in that way. Oh, I'm sorry, needs work could be checked. If the person says, I really want to work on this. This is something I want to get better at. I want my team to know that I want to work on this. That gets checked. Share at the meeting. The person may choose or not choose to talk about it at their meeting. If it's something that's private and they want to talk about it with somebody separately, they wouldn't check that box. If the person wants the whole team to know, I want everybody to know this. I want to share this with everyone, that is checked. There's a progress bar at the bottom so that the person knows, how close am I to getting done with this? And because it seems quite like a lengthy process. So that progress bar right there shows the person how long. Then there's the My Thoughts button. And you just saw that on the video clip. I touched the My Thoughts and it went to this screen. Again, so this is the place where you can text, speech to text, record, take photos, add photos from the library in that spot. Okay, so then what happens is all of that information then goes to creating an agenda for the person to follow at their meeting. So there's an example of an agenda right there, introduction, make sure everybody knows. I have had an individual skip that. If this is the same team of people, we've met, for the past 2 years, everybody looks around, we all know each other. We could skip the introductions. We all know who everybody is. But as you know as well as I do, people come and go, and there may be new people to introduce. So see where it says Community Hub right there? That little symbol means that there were thoughts that needed to be shared, but maybe not a picture associated with it. So the other one there, My Health, there's a picture. So and the pictures can be shared at the meeting. So this is a how-to guide without spending, an entire time telling you how to use it. So that's the how-to guide is available to follow along with that app. Something that is really great is that a report can be created from the app. Not only the agenda, but a report. The report can be emailed to a service coordinator or to a family, and the report has a satisfaction score. So that happy face that you saw, it starts off at 50 and it goes up to 100 and down to 0. That didn't show up on the screen that the user used, but it does equate to a number, a score. And that score can be tracked over time. So right now, John says, well, sometimes I do enough things in the community. Wouldn't it be great if we worked on that? He checked needs work, and he wanted people to know this. Well, maybe in 6 months when we meet again, maybe that score will go up to 80. That would be great. And that's where you can keep track of progress that people are get working towards their life goals. I haven't done this yet, and I'm bringing this up on here, is projecting the agenda on the wall. I really would love to do that sometime because that way everybody can follow along. But also, I have some individuals who put in a lot of pictures, and rather than have to show everybody on the iPad, wouldn't it be cool if it was just up on the wall and everybody could say, hey, look, there's your bench you made. That's awesome. And we all talk about it. So if anybody uses this app and you end up projecting it, I'd like to hear about that and how it goes. All right, here's a little video of an individual who has used this app as well as a parent.
Hello. Hello. I'm Laurel. My name is Laurel Juno. I am Laurie Skultety, I'm Michael's mom. So you have used this app to lead your meeting, prepare for your meeting. Into the meeting, and I saw he had an iPad. I could immediately see his engagement in the meeting. And because the iPad is such a powerful tool with the children, young adults on the spectrum. And it was actually the first time at Michael's meeting that he ever participated. He was actively involved. He started reading and saying things that I didn't even know. And he needs to be able to advocate for himself. And by having the app, he really had such a handle on everything and was really able to run the meeting along. I thought it really gave him a lot of advocacy for himself so that he could go through each heading and talk about each item. And, you know, I know the fun things he likes to do, but there are a lot of other things I didn't even realize that he wanted to do. What did Mom learn about you?
What? How to work with mechanics, or work with chefs, or work with builders.
But it was a wonderful tool for anyone who needs that guidance to speak.
All right, so Michael's a really cool guy. I really enjoy working with him. His mom is just the nicest lady as well, and they agreed to come in and share that story with you. And Michael just had his annual ISP meeting about 2 weeks ago, and I was so excited because he wanted to use the app again, and he really went through and changed quite a bit. And I'm like, that is awesome. Some things stayed the same, and we as a team recognized that that hasn't changed in 6 months. Maybe we should help him work towards meeting a mechanic, meeting a chef. You know, maybe he could shadow for a day. So that was pretty cool. What you see there on the screen, this is the feedback I'm getting. Definitely individuals are more focused and they're more attentive to their meetings. They're definitely more involved in the actual meeting. It's easy to use. That was the whole point of this. We wanted to have it be user-friendly and really intuitive. So it keeps meeting moving along. I've had so many people say, well, what's next on your agenda? When the meeting is getting kind of dragging out a little bit. Well, let's move along. What's next? It's very adaptable, highly customizable, depending on the user. I have had people, I simplified this down to only 10 statements. And other people, we've added to the 40. So very adaptable. Definitely feel more prepared and almost excited for their meetings, actually, which, you know, when you go to a job performance, it's you and your boss, but could you imagine having your family and your friends sitting in on your job performance interview with your boss? That would be terrible. So meetings can cause a lot of stress for people. Let's get rid of that stress. I want the person to feel prepared, feel confident. This has achieved that. It's fun. Using the app is definitely a lot of fun. Do you have anything you wanted to say about the app, Jordan?
No, I love it just for the idea, not only for the individual, but it helps the person that's supporting the individual just have a dialogue because it prompts a conversation. I think so many times in this business, if you know someone for a long period of time, all of a sudden they become more of a stereotype than an actual person. This makes you go through the discipline of asking the question again. Like you mentioned, your one guy had different answers a year later, 6 months later, and people change over time. They're not just a static thing. And that's why this is a great exercise. And I can see how this so easily flows into the goal plan do part of the exercise, that once you identify these things, okay, how am I going to make them happen? So I think it's fantastic. I'm not prejudiced.
That is definitely.
I lost audio on you for a second there, Laurel. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just saying that I struggled with knowing which app to talk about first. Yeah. And that's the point. The connection is the person had this meeting, valued outcomes are now established. How do we get there? How do we achieve them? You know,
Right.
go back to the goal, plan, do. Yeah, let's set a plan to achieve that valued outcome, that goal, that life goal.
Yeah. And over time, you could see all the things that you achieved, and it gives you more and more confidence as time goes on.
That's right. That's right.
Life isn't just an obstacle.
Right, it is not. So like I said before, both of these apps are available by searching Schenectady ARC. I'm excited. I want to give everybody a sneak. I can't give you a peek, but just a heads up. How about that? About a visual inventory that is coming out soon. Sue Kohler, I told you she's our developer. She is actually volunteering with the American Red Cross right now for however much time to help all of the hurricane victims. And so she's not available, but she has started work on this visual interest inventory. And maybe where you are, there's a list of different activities on piece of paper, written in black and white, and it might be everything from bocce ball, bowling, to badminton, to soccer, to trampoline, and they're just written on a piece of paper, and the person goes through and checks, not interested, somewhat interested, not interested, somewhat interested, yes, interested, whatever, something like that. And I said, well, I like the idea behind that, but so many of the individuals we support, that piece of paper is not going to mean a whole lot to them. And so we took, we have pictures that we're taking all of those activities and then a lot more that we thought of and putting it together in a visual. You check the box. This is let me think of an example. Sports. So you go to the sports category, and then there's all these pictures of all these different sports, and the person can just check the ones that they like or they're interested in. And again, that generates a report for people to say, I never knew that you were interested in playing horseshoes, which is actually what came out of. So be looking for that to be coming out hopefully by the end of the year. I hope some people will find a use in that.
I could see so many applications to something like that. Even I remember when I was first in this field, I got so excited because I thought I could have an interesting interchange with a group talking about where they might like to live someday in Westchester County. And as I was going through it, I realized that they knew where they lived presently, but if I mentioned another town to them, they had no idea what I was talking about. And it gets back to lots of times you need some very concrete information to give people a choice. So if I say you want to live in New York City, I have to show them what New York City looks like. It's just...
That's the point, right? Badminton was on the list. I said, does everybody know what badminton is?
Sure. Shuttlecock. Sure. No problem.
Right. So I'm excited for when that one does come out. I hope that people really are able to use that. I had somebody who was really struggling at his day program, and they were like, we don't know what he wants to do. So I used the draft form of this app with him, and he came up with like 13 things that none of us knew. It was really awesome. And, trampoline was one of them. People were like, really? He said, yeah, I'd like to go to a trampoline park. Okay. So that's what I'm hoping people get out of that one.
Especially if somebody's not that verbal, too.
Correct. Right. People, I find, sometimes just don't know what their options are. They just, when you ask somebody, well, what do you want to do today? I don't know. What can I do? What are the choices? This is a work in progress. I welcome feedback. There is my email as well as my phone number listed there. I really would love to hear from people what they think of it, what they think should change. We can work with Sue Kohler on making those changes, working those in.
Yeah, especially for somebody that is in transition. Like, would you like to live with 4 people? Well, what does that look like? What is living with 4 people? Do you want to share a bathroom? Do you want to share your room? Do you want to use a van every day to get places? That's for somebody that's like 19 or 20, it's a foreign experience in lots of ways to them. And, do you want to live in an apartment versus if I've always lived in a house, why would I want to live in an apartment? Do you want a backyard? Is that important to you? Do you want to have a barbecue? All these things, you know, we have to take for granted, or I should say, we take for granted lots of times that people understand what we're asking of people. And
Right.
that's not exactly
Right.
true. It's not exactly true. I've opened the mics on the people that are in attendance here. So if you want to ask a question, or the mics that I can open up, some of you have said that you don't want to be on the interchange. But if you have a question, feel free. This is a person with tremendous knowledge in this field. So, take advantage of it. Well, I was just wondering when you made these apps, what was the time frame on them? How long did it take to put them together?
That's a good question. Like I said, it's a lengthy process, because of her limited availability on Sue and my availability with, I had sessions to do. And so the goal plan due was probably about a year with that one together.
Wow.
And my life plan, that was probably just under a year, because once she programs something, she can then put her knowledge to use it again for programming something else.
Right.
So about a year.
Wow. Wow. Long time. A lot of work.
It is, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. If there's no other questions, I'm going to thank Laurel tremendously for a fantastic presentation. Laurel, could you do me a huge favor and send me your PowerPoint? And I'll
Sure.
attach it when I send out the edited video of the webinar. And up on the screen now, hopefully you're seeing that in October, isn't that silly? I didn't put the date. It's Wednesday, October the 11th, 2017. We have a gentleman from Raz Mobility. He's coming back, and he's going to talk about a Voice It communication app. Have you seen that yet, Laurel, up by you, the Voice It?
I have not.
Okay.
No.
Well, originally it was called Talk It, and now they've renamed it Voice It. And I know they've done a lot of testing in New York State, beta testing, but it's an incredible idea. I haven't seen it in actual performance yet, but I'm terribly anxious for it, because it'll take somebody that has difficult speech pronunciation, learn those phrases of that individual, and immediately translate it into something that's intelligible by somebody on the outside. So if you take my adult daughter, Jessie, who I always talk about, I know, but if she'll say, "Me want mook," meaning that she wants a glass of milk, but it'll come out, "I would like a glass of milk." So it's sort of like taking drag and dictate and throwing it on its head, and it learns your vocabulary and immediately in real time translates it to understandable speech. So it sounds fantastic.
It does. Interesting, yes.
Yeah, because so many people rely upon individuals that know them very well to be their interpreter, that can take their difficult speech and make it understandable by others. This would be something that's iPad and iPhone based and be able to translate it immediately. So pretty exciting stuff. Can't wait to hear it. So I will be sending out a notice along with the video and the PowerPoint of how to register for that conference on October the 11th. I thank all of you for staying in. We had a lot of attendance here today. It's absolutely fantastic. And I can't thank enough Laurel from Schenectady Arc for doing a fantastic job. And if anybody has any questions or any suggestions for future Take a Byte lunchtimes, if there's an app or a piece of hardware that you adore, let me know, and I'll talk to the manufacturer and try and get them to come on and tell us about it. So I wish you a pleasant day. Thank you so much.